Before we move ahead, like Andre mentioned, that this workshop is being supported by the COSI project, which is an ERC advanced grant headed by Professor Helbing. So I would just like to talk a little bit about what the project is about, how it's related, what are the different aspects of the project that we are covering in this team, and probably you'll get to hear more about it today as well as tomorrow and during our interactions over the coffee breaks. So the project that we are doing here is called Co-Evolving City Life, and it's mainly about developing, testing, and demonstrating new concepts for more resilient, sustainable, and participatory cities, where many agents are digitally assisted, coordinated, based on self-organization and co-evolution. So if we think about cities, like the first thing that comes in our mind is like they are complex socio-technical systems where there are several different elements, or you can say, like different agents who are always interacting with each other. There's flow of information, there's flow of goods, there is flow of ideas and movement, people are moving. So it's quite a complex system. And to understand it, there are different ways we can go ahead to do that. And one of the key fields that has been able to do that is complex system science, which has been able to provide us with ways in which we can understand these intricacies about different interacting elements, as well as understand the emergent behaviors and how different patterns and trends go around in the cities. While complex systems or complex system science has allowed us to understand this, there are more ways in which we can understand more social part of the cities, like social elements and global system science, which combines citizen engagement and interdisciplinary science of complex system, has proven to be one of the fields, that has supported this mission. Now, while we are able to understand how cities work, how the emergent behaviors can be analyzed, there are still several questions. For example, how can we manage this complexity? With the growth in the in the types of cities, in the magnitude the cities are growing, the people are interacting, and these patterns are evolving, there's a continuous interaction between different stakeholders. And to have a city that is more inclusive, more just, it is not only imperative to understand how these dynamics unfold, but also to understand how different stakeholders interact. Then the other open question we have is how to promote and reward environmental friendly behavior, which is also important when we talk about smart cities, because now a lot of focus has shifted from just the smart cities to more smart, sustainable cities or livable cities, or there are a lot of buzzwords that have been used with cities. Also, what we are looking into it is how digital tools can support this kind of self-organization. So now in this era of like digital technology, we are always surrounded by these tools which allow us to make decisions, interact with each other, but also there's a possibility where we can use them in a way that's not only data driven, but also data informed, where we make these decisions which are more useful for interaction as well as making decisions. And the final question is, how can we harness collective intelligence, which is like to have every stakeholder voice their opinion and use them to solve these challenging problems, which can be done in different ways. And one of the ways we are investigating is a participatory method where every stakeholder has a say, and you can use different methods in which they can be included in discussions. To give a brief idea of the whole COSI project, we are looking into all these questions from different perspectives. So we have some of the perspectives that are very technical oriented, like we are looking into how these technologies are designed in terms of the value sensitive design, the ethics that goes behind these technologies. Then we are also looking into these systems from the lens of agent-based modeling to understand how different agents interact in these complex environments. We're also looking at how we can use the wisdom of crowd to understand how we can use the knowledge of people as well as their expertise, plus the contextual understanding to solve these challenges. So here you can see the most important, the main keywords here are in the white. So for example, we are trying to understand how we can have more self-help organization, which is supported by these digital tools. And we are also looking into how we can have more co-creation, where not just the researchers or the policymakers or the decision makers, they make the decisions in a top-down approach, but it's more like a bottom-up, where you have the approaches like citizen science and co-creation that brings together all the citizens or the key stakeholders from the city not just for data collection, because like primarily citizen science has been used a lot for data collection, but now with more awareness and more understanding of how much people can actually, like how much people can actually advance, with their knowledge, as well as interact with policymakers to create the solutions that are globally accepted, as well as that are more useful for the society. Then we are also looking into how, these competitions, which, like Dirk says, they are like climate city cups, or which are more participatory systems where people come together, and then there is open innovation, which is based on sharing of ideas, resources, as well as knowledge can be used to promote collective intelligence, as well as solve challenges that are critical for our society. So the other aspect of COSI is we are also looking into what the conventional smart cities are and how we envision smart cities, which are more value sensitive. In terms of design, usually the conventional smart cities are more technology centric, but here we are looking into how we can make them more value sensitive. In terms of organization, usually it's like top down and control. The way we look at it is more bottom up participation, or a hybrid approach where you have an equal say from all stakeholders. We're also looking at the governance issues where we have public-private partnerships in conventional smart cities, but in a value-sensitive smart city, we envision it to be more multi-stakeholder, inclusive, and collaborative. And in terms of citizenship, how do we look at people? Are they merely data producers, or they should be more like they should have more digital citizenship where they can actually have all the rights when it comes to data, like informed consent. Then technology, which should not be just data driven, but it should be more ethical and more citizen centric or human centric. Of course, human centric is it's a wide term, it can be interpreted in a different way, but here the way we want to interpret it is more where it's used for the benefit of people rather than the other way around. Then the data governance, where the data is closed, it's not shared, but we are looking at this in a way where the data is easily available, so that it allows for more innovation, more sharing, and somehow that also allows to build trust, because when a user or a citizen is aware how their data is being used or what kind of rights they have when it comes to their data, I think it bridges the gap between decision makers as well as the local community. And in terms of dynamics, we're also looking into how these things can be more society driven, where people have a say in all these issues that affect them directly. Now, this is more like a high level explanation of like what we are trying to address in this project, but we're also looking into different methods to do this. So we are having a lot of online experiments, lab as well as field experiments. For example, we are trying to understand the behavior mechanisms that foster participation. For example, we are looking into different ways in which we can democratize participation, provide tools and ways in which people can interact, can be online tool or co-creation activities. Also create these competitions where people can interact, they can share their opinions, as well as that can promote group formation. Then we are also looking into simulation, like how we can simulate these scenarios where we can understand if we are making any changes to the cities, how much the impact of these changes are at the ground level, and also how do people perceive these changes. So usually, like when it comes to urban design, a lot of decisions are taken at the higher level, but in our team, we are also looking into like if it's more citizen centric, where people can actually play with these scenarios to understand what would be the outcome of these scenarios before the actual implementation. We're also looking into this thing. Then we're also looking into how digital technology, for example, Internet of Things, can be used to create more digital awareness, more environmental engagement, where people can use these DIY tools, to create these sensors as well as collect data. So they are in full control of like how they want to share their data, as well as with whom they are sharing their data. Also, we are discussing and working with a citizen science center here to create these co-creation scenarios where people, as well as decision makers from the city of Zurich, they are coming together to build these scenarios where we can monitor environment in a more human-centric way.